that 28-year-old Brandon's fatal shooting on a movie set last week was an accident, but now there is even talk of murder.
Nothing ever seemed to go right.
One crew member from the Crow set agreed to talk with us, but only if he remained anonymous.
People have tried to say it was haunted. I don't know about that. But there definitely was some bad vibes on this set.
Welcome, everybody. Hi, I'm Keith Vitali, and welcome to Psychic Podcast. And before we start this episode today, let's welcome on my producer, Corey Gomez. Hi, Corey. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. Well, listen, I'm really excited about this episode because I hear you have a couple surprise questions for me. So go ahead. Let me hear it.
I do, and I must stress first, I'm not saying this poking fun because I'm a big fan of this man, but when Brandon Lee, you mentioned a while ago, Brandon Lee, about what happened on set, his tragic passing. Current Affair, Inside Edition, they all did the specials when he passed away on The Crow. Well, one of the episodes, and I've got footage to include, one of the episodes had the funeral. And after the funeral, they interviewed, people in the community. One of them was Steven Seagal. And he said, this wasn't no accident. This was a murder. He was killed by the Chinese triad. And I've got people looking into what he did. And even on an interview he did just recently, he even said, I know how Brandon Lee really died.
We think that he's dead, but the guy shot a blank gun at him. How could he be dead? He's dying. He's severely hurt, maybe dead. And I said, you will find a projectile in him. You'll find a bullet in him. And they said, that can't be. You're crazy. And I said, you will find a bullet in him. And they called me in the morning. They said, you're amazing. And I said, why? And they said, there was a bullet in him. Wow. And I can go through the whole story on what really happened, which most people don't know. But the long and the short is when Brandon passed like that, I didn't sleep for 3 or 4 days. Wow. It just reminded me too much of certain things. And
do you think this is just somebody saying some goofiness? But I've heard it before because of the way Bruce died in Game of Death, the way they faked the character's death. Do you think there's any kind of weird conspiracy hit or anything? Or was it just like we've seen with the Adam Baldwin stuff, just what I've always deemed as a tragic accident?
That's a good way to put it. No, I agree 100% with you that it's a tragic accident. The reality is it was an accident that happened on set. My good friend Gerald Wallard is vice president of the studio at the time, Screen Gems in North Carolina, and he personally told me what happened. Now, I think a lot of people try to confuse or correlate Bruce Lee, his dad's death. They had the same conspiracies back then that the triads were the ones that killed him. So now that his son passes away, and they're trying to use the same conspiracy, perhaps it was the same triads going after the son. I personally don't believe that. I think there was just a tragic accident and a sad one because I think that Brandon had the looks and the skill to be as big as his dad. And what a shame to lose somebody of that magnitude, that talent. So no, I don't believe that theory at all.
Do you think it's just said, and I'm not saying, I mean, Steven Seagal he's a superstar in the world of martial arts. So I'm not saying he's one of these guys trying to get attention, but do you think he believes this? Or, I mean, so many people believe it because in the movie, The Game of Death, the Bruce Lee character is shot. There's a real bullet. Do you think it's just people that are almost, I hate to say this, but they're hoping it was something other than an accident? Because, I mean, Brandon had such a future ahead of him.
Right. I think you could argue more about his dad and that conspiracy to have more credibility, but not with the son. The son had a tragic accident, and it was definitely an accident at the Screen Gym studio. And, it was just, they knew exactly what happened. And there wasn't anybody from Hong Kong or Russia who pulled the trigger. It was just an accident that happened. And usually, it's the easiest solution explanation is the one that really happened. And now, again, the dad with Bruce Lee, I could maybe believe something like that, but not with his son, because I spoke personally with the vice president of Screen Gems myself.